Well, Australians have grown to love our next guest, Dilruk Jayasinghe, as much as he's grown to love Australia right on back.
I'm lucky that my parents were able to afford to send me to Australia. I'm lucky that they paid for everything from my education to my rent to my food, which was the highest expense. This is how much this country changed me. Like, I may have been raised in Colombo, but this part is Aussie. Do you know what I mean? When I got to the country, people told me that Australia will grow on you. I didn't think it'd be literal, right? I basically traded in my six-pack for a goon bag. That's what happened there.
Well, would you please welcome Dilruk Jayasinghe?
Thank you.
Dilruk, I hate to bring this up, but you are looking very fit, and it looks like you've lost a lot of weight since that.
Oh, no, the camera reduces 10 pounds, I think. That's,
I don't believe that.
I have lost a fair bit. It's weird. I think the total amount's like nearly 30 kilos, I think. Wow. Yeah, which is a weird amount, because on the one hand, people are like, wow, well done. But I'm like, yeah, I put it there. Like, don't give me too much praise. Maybe a little pat on the back. But it's like, I feel guilty getting praise. It's like a fireman getting an award for job well done, but he started the fire. So let's just keep
It's astonishing, and I have followed the journey. We're going to get to that in a second. But let's have a look at you a year ago, and there's a comparison.
Oh, yeah.
I think you posted on your Instagram post. So obviously the left is 2018.
Yeah.
And 2019, that's phenomenal.
That is in Sri Lanka, actually. That's why I'm wearing a sarong. That some people thought I was wearing a towel or something like that. But yeah, that was it was actually New Year's Eve, 2017, that I kind of had a real issue where I was trying to put on a shirt for a party, New Year's Eve party, and it wasn't buttoning up. And I was like, oh, this is grim. And my family, we make fun of each other all the time, but that was the first time they stopped making fun of me. And I was like, oh, this must be pretty bad. So then I decided to kind of do some changes, you know what I mean?
And it all came because of a bet.
Well, it's funny because the bet is one thing, but also when people ask me, I always say therapy, and I'm so glad you guys had that segment before about, you know, the importance of mental health, and because I think that's genuinely one of the things that helped me understand how my brain worked, and then how the rest of the body kind of like the way I approach things. And also, I think when you're a big eater, you always blame yourself, but through therapy, I realized I can blame a few other people as well. Like, you know, like take responsibility, but there were some people who could have given me better things. Like, for example, I'm ready to blame, for starters, the Muslims. Let's start with that. Let me explain.
Please do, Dilruk, please do.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Say hi to Waleed for me, right? No, for this, if you don't know, I grew up in a Muslim house. My mom's side is Muslim, but I'm not, because, see, my dad's Buddhist, which I'm not anymore in a way, and they sent me to a Catholic school, which I'm not either. So there's just a whole, like, could you imagine how many festivals I got to eat at? Like, I treated my body like a temple that took offerings from all the religions. Right? But, you know, I think that's why I always sort of go with it. It was a lot to do with, like, things like Ramadan, for example, like, because I wouldn't fast, but I'd wake up with the family at, like, 4:35 a.m. to eat with them, but then go to the Catholic school, have breakfast, lunch, come back, have breakfast with them like a good boy, and then have dinner, have, like, 5 meals across the day. So that was when I realized, you know what? I could have had some better upbringing.
So there was a bet with Ben Lomas.
Yes.
It's an extraordinary podcast.
Yes.
I'm a big fan of.
It's called Fitbet. You've been on it as well. Thank you for coming along.
And so you had a bet. You both bet 120 kilos. Who could get under 100 kilos for $1,000?
Correct. Our starting weight is around 120. The first person under 100 gets $1,000. Because what better way to deal with food addiction than replacing it with gambling? Because that's a really smart way to operate, kids. But it did mean that the motivation was really, because I hate the dieting and exercise. All of it's annoying, but the idea of not doing it meant that my mate's going to get $1,000 from me, so I'm not happy with that. And it just forced me to try to get into it. Because the whole health world is just new to me. Like, everything from, like, even the food is all, like, keto and kale and kombucha. And I'm like, I see 3 Ks in a row and I'm out. Like, it's a bit... Something about it doesn't sit well with me, you know?
Dil, can we talk about cheat days? Because that's obviously the name of your show.
Yes.
And also, you really next level a cheat day. Can we have a look at you on a cheat day? Like, you consume that all, but how do you then go back after the cheat day? Because once you start, it's hard to stop.
No, yes, okay. You got me there. No, I think it's because I now have learned that if I give myself that moment once a week to just allow, because it's 25, 30 years of bad eating habits that I kind of have to undo. It's not going to happen overnight. So if I give myself that, let that monster out once in a while. You were there that night, Pete.
I was.
And you literally saw me order 3 different sandwiches off the menu at 2 a.m.
And looking like he does now. I'm like, how did you do that?
I think everybody
wants to know, 30 kilos in a year, what have you actually been eating or not eating?
Oh, so I avoid carbs and sugar for 6 days, but the 7th day, all bets are off. It's like Ramadan again. I wake up at 4:30, I eat, I have Cocoa Pops, ice cream, croissants. That's all before any of the other main meals start.
It's extraordinary. He actually does do that. Like, that's not you being just funny. You actually post a lot of that stuff.
Oh, look, I don't know if it's healthy or not, but I don't know. It worked.
But seriously, the podcast is great. It's a really fun podcast. Yeah.
All right, tickets to Dilruk Show Cheat Days available now, and details are on our links page. Would you please thank Dilruk Jayasinghe?